You're listening to the best of ITW, brought to you by Pop Guide and WikiLeaf.
The new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors. Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell.
On this episode, ITW welcomes entrepreneur and musician Dan Jacobs of Atreyu.
It's Dan Jacobs.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a hard time with this one.
Bubs could not say Atreyu, right? And is the only thing he cannot say.
Really? You can't say Atreyu?
I can say Atreyu,
There it is.
but then, but when it goes to saying Dan Jacobs and Atreyu, I put the R in there. So I can say Atreyu on its own, but when I say Dan Jacobs, I say Atreyu.
Atrar.
I fucked it up. That's
really
all I'm
funny.
saying. It was a few
It's really
takes,
funny.
and I'm usually like one and done, you know?
Atrar.
This Sunday at the Slide Bar.
Dan Jacobs.
Fullerton, Orange County, Dan Jacobs and Atreyu.
You pay for your seat, but you only use the edge.
Edge.
Dan Jacobs. Mm-hmm. That was a wild motherfucker and is a wild motherfucker.
Dude, he's a fucking party animal. The funnest dude ever, dude. I fucking love Dan Jacobs.
Entrepreneur,
Oh, yeah.
musician, guitarist,
Yeah.
metalhead,
Killing it.
slinging weed his whole life.
Yeah, dude. So fucking amazing, dude.
Yeah.
I fucking love Dan.
He has a huge merch company too, right?
Yeah.
What are they called again? Do you remember? Let's type it
Rock
in.
World merch.
Rock World merch.
He is fucking hilarious, dude. Like, he's such a funny guy, and he's actually done stand-up. So, I mean, it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
He actually hosted the Death by Stereo live stream, and he kind of roasted us a little bit. It was cool, yeah.
Oh, that's
What was the best burn?
I'm trying to remember. You know, he did like some cheesy like dad jokes on purpose. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
Oh, the fucking best band in the world couldn't be here. You know?
yeah.
These guys are here to say that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it was just great, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. I went and saw him. We kind of kept in touch. I went and saw him play in Toronto at some festival and stuff like that. And we went and caught up, and I think we
cool.
smoked a little bit of weed on their bus or something like that.
Oh,
Or
that's
outside their
awesome.
bus. Yeah, so we kept in touch a little bit.
That's great.
Yeah, he was a really great guy. A lot of fun. That was also shot at the Slide Bar.
Yeah. And Atreyu is still killing it. I mean, Death by Stereo and Atreyu's both first shows ever were with each other.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That is very crazy.
At it was at a high school. I
Really?
remember the name.
So the same show was both your first shows?
Yeah.
Wow.
Fucking pretty cool, huh?
That's really cool.
Yeah, and
I don't want this to sound insulting, but Dan, I thought was younger than you.
he is younger than me.
So you guys were a bit older, like the older band, kind of a little bit older. Like was it high school?
we were
you guys
older
in that
than-
high school, or was it a different school?
Our drummer had just finished at that high school, and he's like, I can get us a show at this school. And we're like, all right. And then we played with them. They were still in school.
That's cool. Was that with you, like the minors and everything?
Yeah. And Jim Miner crashed into a light post at the school and knocked it down. It was funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty funny. Anyways, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I've known Dan for a long time, man.
He is such a showman.
Fucking good dude, man. Oh, he goes off when he plays, dude. He is a showman, dude.
Yeah.
And he has all these like loud, crazy looking guitars, and
Yeah.
keeps that 80s rock spirit alive.
He definitely does. But they don't sound like 80s rock, but they have that.
They have that
vibrato. What's the
feel.
word I'm looking for? Vibrato?
bravado.
Bravado. Yeah, sorry.
They do.
Yeah.
And then since then, Atreyu's drummer has become the lead vocalist. Yeah. And
Wow.
And they got a new drummer. Yeah. So their singer quit, and then drummer took
Was
over.
is his brother in that band?
No.
No, but they were close, right? They're like, or am I mixing that up? Maybe.
Well, I know everyone in the band was close, but
Yeah.
But at any rate, yeah. So lots changed for him.
Yeah.
With
I met him and his brother are close, selling dope at their house or
Oh,
something
him and
like
his brother
that.
were really close.
Yeah.
Joe and Dan.
Yeah.
Oh,
and they had a
like
weed hustle, and their
brother in
dad
the
would
band.
chase them or something like that.
Joe runs that merch company. So
Okay.
yeah, Joe's gnarly, dude.
Yeah.
Joe and Dan are very close. Sorry, I misunderstood what you were asking.
That's okay. I
Yeah.
probably didn't ask it well.
Dude, way to ask shitty questions, bro.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you blew it, man. This is the intro to one of the most awesome human beings ever. And I'm sure when he listens to this, he's going to be just as disappointed as I am in you.
Oh, wow. It's gone there.
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Day
Do you
one.
have anything to say about this?
There's no way you could be as disappointed in me as I am. You fucking loser.
That's amazing. Well, that being said,
Yeah.
it's a great episode. It was a fucking great time. And it's just cool to talk to a cool, down-to-earth fucking guy from home who just has done shit that a lot of human beings don't get the chance to do.
Yeah.
Fucking, I'm playing with Iron Maiden. You know what I mean? Like, what? You know, I have a gold record. What? You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
wild, you know?
But when you see his kind of spirit and his energy, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the guy gets shit fucking done for sure.
Oh, it's crazy, man. That guy works hard and parties hard. It's
Yeah.
awesome, dude. He's like, I've had some goddamn good times with him, dude. And he's just always there. No matter what event it is, you go to an event, he is present. He definitely makes himself known in the scene. And I remember him telling me, he's like, dude, just hanging out has changed my life. And I was like, yeah, you just got to show up.
That's cool.
Yeah.
He's also pretty dreamy.
Oh, he's a dreamy guy.
He's a
Yeah,
dreamboat
yeah.
for sure.
He is. He is.
Very dreamy.
Dan Jacobs.
Yeah, so.
Anyway, this is Dan Jacobs.
Shout
you
out
guys are gonna love
Dan.
it. Dan was great to have on the show, and I can't wait to see him again.
Shout out Atreyu, too. You guys rule. We got to get a couple of those other guys on the show sometime. They're great.
We've had our Atreyu fix. I'm just kidding. That'd be fucking awesome. That'd be great. Dan was awesome. Thanks so much for being on the show, Dan.
Love you, dude.
You guys are going to love it.
Can't wait to love you.
I love you more than these guys do. Whatever. And more than Bubba's future love.
No, you can't love me. You can't love him more than my future love.
Yes, I can. I'm loving him more than your future love right now.
No, I'm already
the
loving.
future-
I'm loving him at the same level that you're already loving him,
Dude,
and I haven't even met him yet.
I'm
So my
pretty
future
sure-
love is going to be stronger than any love that you've ever felt.
I'm pretty sure in the future, he feels really good right now hanging out with me. Like he's killing it right now. Like all he's thinking is like, Bubba doesn't give me hand jobs. Yeah.
With his mouth, he does.
Yes, exactly.
You guys should be so lucky. Because he loves me the most.
Oh.
No, he doesn't. But I don't know.
Okay, we'll edit all of that out.
Yeah, I got to edit all that,
that's
all that
a lot
stuff
of
out.
there.
That,
No dick stuff.
Yeah, no dick stuff, guys. I know everyone is going to love Dan Jacobs from Atreyu on this episode of ITW.
I know I do.
I know I do too.
I'm about to.
I'm about to.
Oh yeah.
An ongoing theme of this Hollywood Sessions, as we're telling, we'll have to name this, is that Efrem is fucking clearly racist towards Canadians.
Oh, dude, I've been bagging on Canadians every day, just racking back.
Canay holes.
Oh yeah,
What's
yeah.
this now? Canay holes? I haven't heard this shit.
I just made this up right now. So
Oh,
this
Canay
is,
holes?
I'm just rolling with it.
We
Canay
could have
holes.
gone with it. That's a thing all Americans say. We just don't say it around you guys.
Yeah. We're here with Dan Jacobs.
Anyways, hey, but
We're still hanging out at the Slide Bar, so if anybody, this is the third episode at the Slide Bar. Thank you to them for having us. We've moved
yeah.
rooms, but you might start hearing some power chords in the background pretty soon. We're going to try to get this wrapped up for you.
My band's gonna ruin the interview by sound checking, whatever.
Ruin the whole night by playing.
Way to try to sound good.
But anyway, thank you so much for coming. You're
for having me.
Yeah, no problem. You play in Atreyu. I just found out that you're also stand-up. Owned a bunch of different businesses and stuff as I'm finding out.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit, tell us about this, Efrem, from your perspective, because I didn't know that you did stand up.
Well, I've known Dan for
I've dabbled.
Yeah.
I've known Dan for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Our first show was with the pre-Atreyu band, or I guess sound.
Yeah. I
It was
mean,
like a completely different sound,
yeah. When we used to be called Retribution.
and it was raw punk rock.
Yeah. This is back when even some of the original Death by Stereo members were in the decons.
Yeah, exactly.
And you were back with what, Clint at the time or something?
Yeah. What?
Yeah. It's
Can
weird.
we remember that?
Yeah, it's
And
like 20 plus
played
years
at
ago.
Esperanza High School. The first Death by Stereo
Creative
show
Impulse.
was with you.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really cool thing that Esperanza did. I don't know if other schools do this, but like our high school that we went to would have these concerts twice a year. They'd, in this little theater there where they would hold, their theater stuff, and they could have about 300 people in there, and it would sell out every time. Which for a local band, that's a lot of people. 300 people, yeah. So like they would basically just have bands from the school play this concert and to 300 students, and it was freaking awesome.
That's
It was
cool.
Super cool.
And a lot of like our bands, like when Atreyu's first like real show ever was at this thing, at this Creative Impulse. Death by Stereo, one of yours, if not first real
It was
show,
our first show.
was at Creative Impulse. I remember somebody had a guitar cut out in
Steve,
the
my
Death
friend Steve, the
Vault.
drummer from Clint, the fake cardboard guitar.
Fake cardboard. I remember
And
that.
people in the back would be like, they have 3 guitars. And people in the front would be like, that is so lame.
Yeah.
Like, we made so many people mad. We did that at the Palace.
Yeah.
Like on big
The
stages.
Palace.
It was funny, dude.
What is that place even called?
The
now,
Avalon.
Palace? The Avalon.
Yeah. That's crazy. But yeah, you've been around forever. You've been touring for probably half your life. I don't even know at this point.
Yeah, about
And
half my life now.
you've always been involved in music, but you've always been involved in really creative avenues, whether it's plugins or you own the company Rock. Like
Yeah.
you've always done different
What
things.
did the company Rock do?
Rock was a clothing company?
Yeah, so so my venture into things outside of being in a band started with doing a clothing line in 2007 called Rock Clothing,
Which is
ROKK.
dope.
Thank
we
you.
all wore it.
We might actually be bringing it back here, coming up here soon.
cool.
We'll do a different spin on it, but it just kind of started as that. It was like my brother would hit me up and was like, "Hey, he at the time was just working at like Starbucks, and he's like, I want to do something. You have, the hype of your band right now is success. Like, let's do something else. Let's diversify."
Atreyu's a massive fucking band, dude.
We do all right. Yeah, I've been around for 20 years now. Finished
Yeah.
this year, which is wild,
Yeah.
But basically it started from that. He was like, let's do something. What do you want to do? And we're like, maybe we'll just start like a clothing line. We'll just make cool T-shirts. And I was really into like kind of 80s rock at the time, so I wanted to make like concert style T-shirts, like something that looks like you would go to a concert and buy off a band. But instead of it saying like Van Halen, it would say Rock. So we started doing
It's
that.
like 3/4 tees, like that kind of stuff.
Some of that, all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Anything like if it looked like it could be an old Metallica or Rat shirt or Van Halen shirt, like that's what all our clothes look like.
We were talking about Stephen Pearcy earlier, speaking of rap.
Yeah, there you go. And so from there, it basically, we got into Hot Topic. We had all these like Chuck Liddell and like Kat Von D. We had all these famous people like wearing our stuff everywhere. But then all of a sudden we got this opportunity. My band was endorsed by Monster Energy Drink. And in 2009, so 2 years into doing this, we went to them and said, can we do like a co-op thing where we do like a Monster Energy Drink shirt that's in the style of Rock clothing? And they're like, all right, cool. And that was like the catalyst that started everything for us into going into merchandising. We made this shirt that looked like a Def Leppard shirt, basically, but was the Monster logo on it. And they freaking loved it. And like from there, we were like, man, we made more money doing that than we did making our own clothing line. Maybe we should do this for more bands and more companies or whatever. And like fast forward, here I am. It's been almost 13 years now. And we have a 10,000 square foot building. We have a print shop.
Congratulations, dude.
Yeah, we work with tons of merchandising companies. We do everything from Rockstar Energy Drink to Monster Energy Drink to a lot of the festivals around here. It's wild. It's like completely changed the whole direction of my life in that sense. And then to go off even more, to take it even further, once we learn how to do all that stuff and we can make anything for anyone, for our company now it's called Rock World Merchandise. We have Rock, and we got Rock World Merchandise. We started this company that Efrem was mentioning. It's called Plugins. And basically what it is we made these things that a friend of ours came and brought the idea to us, and we developed it. And it's basically look like little guitar amps. They're about 8 inches wide.
Like a Marshall head, kind of.
A Marshall head. We actually got a licensing deal with Marshall.
Oh, that's how you did that?
We make little JCM 800 basically looking amps that are keychain holders. So they don't.
I've seen these.
There's no.
You
You've
plug
probably
them in?
seen them on the internet. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they mount on your wall. And your keys, there's 4 input jacks, and you have 4 1/4-inch plugs that like you would use for like a guitar cable, and your keys go on those. So you never lose your key because you get home and you plug into your little amp and you get home, and when it's time to go fucking wherever, you unplug, put it in your pocket, and head out.
So cool.
So we started doing that, and it went nuts. It went viral on the internet. We posted this thing that said, "Hang your keys like a rock star," on like Guitar World and like Guitar Magazine, like everybody, Guitar Center, everybody just started reposting it, and it went viral. And I know we've been talking to even potentially doing stuff with Shark Tank, like all kinds of random shit's popped up. Yeah, we just got to deal with Fender, so we have Fender ones coming up here soon.
Congratulations, man.
That's
Yeah,
so
thank
rad.
you. But it's all music related. At the end of the day, it's all everything I do is like somehow tied in with music.
Yeah, it's cool that Atreyu is still like a successful band and stuff like that. But it's cool that often if you are cognizant of the network that you're building around you, because we had some success in Canada and stuff like that in the day. If you're cognizant of the people around you and the networks that you're making, and you're not a fucking dick, what you can do with those friendships and those relationships, and if you don't abuse them, and you know, and you do it properly. So it's
just
just cool.
Show up, answer your phone, and be nice. You said this to me one time. We were at some show hanging out, and I don't know what we were talking about, but there were so many people there, and rad things kept happening, opportunities, conversations, and you looked at me, you're all, dude, just hanging out has completely changed my life. I remember you said that, and I was like, dude, you're right. Hanging out, just show up. It changes everything, you know?
Just hanging and chilling. You never know who you're going to meet or what opportunity will spawn from whatever, you know? It's mind-blowing. I mean, like, it's mind-blowing the value of what's around your band. Your band doesn't even, the more successful your band becomes, or anything you do in your life, the more successful you become, everything around you becomes, the opportunities, the doors are there's way more of them.
Right.
And they're all open if you just start looking around, you know? So, like, for being in a band, like, I could, you know, live a decent life making the money that I make off just my band alone, but off of the opportunities that I have and the networking that has happened over the years, once people see that you're successful at something, everybody wants to work with you because they're like, you, the proof's in the pudding. This person did it. I want to work with someone who's been successful. I don't want to work with someone who's never done it before.
Right.
So all these opportunities start opening up, whether it be bands that you want to work with or, you know, getting your foot in the door with opportunities. People want to start clothing lines with you, or just, there's so much, even essentially more value around what I'm doing than actually what I was initially doing. And, yeah, I think that's probably one of the most amazing things about being in the music industry is it's cool enough as it is just to be in a band and be around it, but to, like, all the people that you meet and the opportunities that come your way, it's like, it can change your whole life in a way that, like, you never even thought. I mean, like, I'm financially more successful outside of my band than I am in my band because of the contacts that I made from my band. Which is wild, you know? It's like, I never would have thought that was ever be a thing. You know, I thought just music would be my thing, but I didn't realize there's so much more around it. And it's incredible what you can do if you just keep your eyes open and you just hang out.
Show up.
How much are you guys,
Show up, yeah.
How often are you guys still touring?
Right now, a lot. We actually, we toured basically from 2002 to 2010 consistently, putting out albums nonstop. Took a 4-year hiatus. 2014, we put out an album called Long Live, started touring again, but kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We didn't want to, we were like maybe 3 weeks tops. We didn't want to be out for too long. We were kind of like, And then we just put another album out called In Our Wake that came out in October, November, something like that. And we're like, this is the first album. We're like, all right, we're gonna, you know, since we've been back, we're like, let's go for it. You know, like, let's swing for the fences. Let's write some radio songs. Let's go for it. Let's full blown tour. And it's been awesome. I mean, like, this is the first album cycle that my band's ever done where we wrote this song. It's called The Time Is Now, and it was specifically written to cater towards, as you know, in the music world, sync stuff, which is, you know, getting on, you know, whether it be the background music on TV shows, movies, radio, sports, all that kind of stuff. And we wrote the song called The Time Is Now, and it got picked up by the NFL, got picked up by NHL. Columbus Blue Jackets, who are, I don't know if they're still in the finals right now for the Stanley Cup, but they're up there and they've been using it as, our song is what they come out to when they skate out and stuff. It's just wild. Like, we've been a band for 20 years and we're like, what? We've never had that before.
That level of kind of mainstream success, I guess.
I mean,
it's been mainstream, but like that sort of household mainstream.
In that way, in that way. It's just such a different
You
thing.
get into sports, it's just a completely different stratosphere than rock and roll.
Thing, you know?
Than anything.
Yeah.
And even that, to go off what I was saying about kind of the networking thing, is that a lot of that came from our drummer, Brandon. What he was doing when we were in our hiatus, I was kind of focusing on, like, the plugins thing and the rock world stuff and all that. He was focusing on writing with other people and whatnot, and he got into the sync world and he started writing stuff where he writes music for Dancing with the Stars, The Bachelor, like a lot of these movies and commercials, like his music's in the background of this stuff. And he learned a lot about the sync game. So when we came back together and we wrote this last album, he's like, we have to have at least one song that caters to sync. At least one. And we were like, okay, like, we didn't think anything of it, but he's like, it's really important. We gotta have at least this one song. Did The Time Is Now, and ended up being the biggest song on the album. It's the most fastest, like, selling song we've ever had. Like,
holy shit,
wild. All because it doesn't even really sound a lot like us, even to an extent. It's, I mean, you can hear the elements in there, but it was like, okay, I guess we'll try it. You know, I mean, what do we got to lose? You know, we've been a band for 20 years. Let's just try it. You know, and it ended up being the song on the album.
Wow. Now, did your traditional fans embrace it as well?
Some, yeah. I mean, like, we've been a band long enough now where, like, our fans have gone through all the ebb and flows of everything. You know, like we had our first few years where we were very aggressive, vocally especially, which, you know, can push away and bring in certain types of fans. And then we kind of took this left turn where when in 2007 we worked with John Feldman, and we put out a more like melodic, kind of just bigger arena sounding record, which I feel like it kind of pushed some fans away, but it also brought in a whole nother group of fans that would never have been there before. We had a song on that album called Falling Down that got to #2 at mainstream radio in the United States. It was the second most played, most requested song in the entire United States for 1 week.
That's so amazing.
Which is wild. Like if you like Efrem, you know, from our band, from where we came from, it is fucking mind blowing. Like it doesn't make sense. Like we should not, like, how did we get this far? It's so mind blowing.
But it totally makes sense though.
I mean,
because
looking
you're
back now,
good.
Thank you.
You know, straight up, your band is great.
Very talented.
Thank you.
You know, you deserve to be where you are, dude.
Thank you. I
You
appreciate
100%.
it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Did you grow up in like this area?
Yeah, born and raised.
Yeah.
Yeah, born and raised. Everyone in my band actually is from around here, except for our drummer Brandon. He originally lived up north for a little bit, but for the most part, everyone grew up around here. We all went to junior high together. Bernardo Yorba, just around here. Played in punk bands when we were just like kids, playing the Showcase Theater, opening up for like the Casualties and like UK Subs and like Stratford Mercenaries, like random old punk bands and stuff when we were like teenagers, you know?
Yeah.
But just always been around here. There's such a huge music scene around here and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like, we're at the heartbeat of it all here.
Well, I got to get on this because we are a cannabis podcast, so I got to touch on it. So did you grow up? Was cannabis around you growing up? Like,
I've been smoking. I started smoking weed when I was 14 years old.
What was it like in your house? Were your parents down, not down, liberal, conservative?
They were. My parents were like the parent, like. So my parents got divorced when I was 16, and I started smoking pot when I was 14. Okay. So like it really ramped up, and I really kind of dive in once they split up, because then they moved into different houses, and I lived with my dad, and neither of my parents really cared, but they were just like, where they were at in their lives, they were kind of like on their own worlds, trying to like meet new people and stuff. So I could like kind of just do whatever I wanted. So my brother and I would grow weed in our house. We sold weed. My dad would even like answer the door and be like, "Who's this kid?" Be like, "Dan, you know, someone's here to buy some weed." like, it was ridiculous. He'd be like in his underwear doing this. It was so strange. My dad is such a weird character. But yeah, we had like the party house. People would come buy like dime bags and like you know, little gram bags off us and stuff. That was like my first business. My brother and I started together, was technically selling weed.
That's crazy.
Yeah, just selling weed out of our house, whatnot. And yeah, I mean, we smoked weed all the time. It just kind of started ramping up more and more, like especially as we got older and stuff. Especially once you started touring and like. Yeah. It just went nuts, you know what I mean? Like you'd go to Amsterdam for the first time, and you're like, "Oh my God, there's weed here legally! Like you could just buy it." But now, I mean, as things have gone, the United States has gone pretty legal. Canada's totally legal. It's just like, it's just ridiculous now. Like it's just the Wild West. You could just smoke weed everywhere. I forget sometimes we'll be in other states just smoking weed, and you're like, "Oh man, I forgot I'm not in California. I can't just smoke weed in frickin' Fargo, North Dakota, on the side of the road." You know?
Yeah. I think it's cool because you have a unique perspective from selling weed out of your parents' house when it was crazy.
Can we interview your dad
It's
next?
totally illegal.
And to now,
my dad on a podcast
it's
would be
amazing. You just put your dad on blast.
He's
But
so strange.
To now in 2019 in the legal game,
Yeah.
like it's crazy. Like what was that like? What's that like for you from your perspective? I mean, that's pretty
like,
unique.
You know, like, I mean, everything back then, I mean, just the pricing, just the way, even what's interesting is how quickly, like, the way you look at weed changed. Like, when I first got into weed, if you wanted it, it wasn't like, now there's all these names. Like, every weed has its own name, like a wine.
Yeah.
Before, there was no types of weed. It was just
got
the
what you
quality
got.
of the weed.
Yeah, it's really bomb, man.
It was dank, or it was mids, low mids, high mids, chronic, you know, like, and that's how you judged. If you got a swag, it was really shitty, had a bunch of seeds in it, and you have to pick it all apart and give you a headache, you know, and you'd get a big old bag for like $50, you get like an ounce of swag, and you'd spend most of your time picking the stems.
You remember
and
hearing
seeds
that
out.
all the time? Oh man, that weed just gave me a headache. I
Yeah.
remember hearing that all the time.
Yeah.
I got a moon rock at home that's doing that for me right now.
Moon rock, dude, like, yeah, that shit's next level now, you know, like,
Oh boy.
yeah, everything was just like, I don't know. I felt like even just with like, you know, it was actually back in the 90s, it was like giant bongs. You remember how giant bongs were a thing where like taking a bong hit from like the second story of your house? It was just like it's so unnecessary, you know? So ridiculous, but like that was a thing. Or remember Jerome Baker bongs? The ones that had all the crazy stuff
yeah,
all
yeah,
over
yeah,
them. They
yeah.
were like the craziest blown gas blast. Like you shouldn't have been smoking out of these things. They were such beautiful pieces of art. But that was like the cool thing was in the 90s. Like
Dude,
anyone,
I got a 4-foot bong in my house, bro. That was a big deal.
with like they would have like a bubble on it that had like a frog in it or like a
Mm-hmm.
mushroom coming out of it or something, you know, and then it'd be like all over. And the more warty and like STD'd out this thing was, like the cooler it was, you know.
Shout out to Ziggy's L.A. My homie Carl over there. He like they got a lot of glass blowers, and they got a $1 million fucking glass blown fucking bong.
What is in that? The diamonds?
I
Yeah,
know,
well,
it's got
it's
TV in
it's
it.
very, very intricate. But I guess Dan Blazarian came to try to
Of
buy it
course
off
he
them
did.
Yeah.
for $400,000, and they told him to fuck off.
I'll give you a great deal, $400,000 for that bong.
What? Yeah,
Why is that conversation even being
yeah.
had?
We're asking $1 million,
That's
Dan.
amazing.
Excuse
All
me,
right,
Dan
I'll give you
Blazarian.
600,000. That's the most I can give you for that beautiful bong. like what?
Yeah.
Like it's not like it gets you higher or feel better or anything. It's just a penis extension, essentially. You know,
Possession,
Like,
yeah. That's so ridiculous. I love it.
I think it's rad.
I mean, don't
I
get
would
me
love
wrong,
to smoke weed out of $1 million bong.
Well, no, I would
think you guys
too.
are
Don't
fucking
get me
mental.
wrong. Don't get me
I mean,
wrong, dude. Yeah.
I have a buddy of mine. He was like, he sold weed for a while, like, you know, back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And he would spend all his money on gluttonous, ridiculous things, like ridiculous bubblers. He'd spend like $1,000, $1,500, which talking about $1 million bong sounds like, you know, nothing. It's like freaking whatever now. But like
Yeah.
at the time, if you get like a $900 bubbler, you're like, you don't smoke out of a $900 bubbler. It's such a beautiful piece of art that like, it's not for that. But like this dude just like, all right, man, line them up. Let's freaking pack a bowl. Let's go.
Yeah.
Dan, things were going really well. Things were going really well between us. And-
I want to smoke out of a $1 million bong.
yeah. Why can't you just get that through your fucking head, man?
It's awesome. Period. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would
Yeah,
smoke
yeah.
it. I want that $1 million weed though, too.
Yeah,
What's
fuck.
that? You know, what's
Yeah.
that going to be?
You know, I remember you guys being on the vape game early because I remember talking to Alex one day, the vocalist, and then we were talking about, I remember hot boxes.
oh yeah.
And I remember we used to hang out at the Vibe Room on Friday nights downstairs, and the DJ always had a hot box in the booth.
Okay.
And back when Johnny Chow was the bartender there from Stone Sour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we used to go there every Friday night, and like we would hot box, and then I remember running into you and Alex somewhere or something, and somehow it came up, and I remember Alex is like, the hot box is the only way to go, and you're like, oh yeah,
Oh,
that thing's
like,
killer,
oh,
like
the
on the tour
volcano.
bus. Oh, you took, okay, but remember the hot box?
Oh,
too?
the wood boxes.
and
you
it
put
took
the little thing
tons of
onto it.
weed, yeah. But
We-
I remember talking to you about that, and I think volcanoing at the same time. Volcanoing, Strung Out
actually-
turned me on to that.
Okay, so it's funny. It's funny. This all is coming together really nicely. So,
A little closer.
oh, okay. So
you don't got to be that.
So we have a volcano that we've been smoking out of for years. You guys obviously know what a volcano is, right?
Turkey bag.
Yeah, big old turkey bag thing, whatever. So we had a volcano that we still have. We've had it since 2005. We have it to this day. On this last tour we were on, I just got back
still use
yesterday. I literally yesterday morning was smoking out of this volcano. It is falling apart. The screen is falling off the front.
You
it's
still have
completely
it?
fucking falling apart.
I'm
But we
like, hey,
still have
homie,
it.
they make those things in a pen now.
Yeah.
You know, like-
But we want a big bag.
It's so
on the end of
cool.
That pen, you know, that
You
big
can't
old
go wrong
ball
with the
sack.
classics.
In Canada, the volcano is the only medically approved device for consuming cannabis.
What?
Yeah. It was. I mean, that, you know what? That might be a little dated, but like as of like maybe last year.
Oh, every party dude in Canada is like, yeah.
No, but like
volcanoes legal
in Canada.
sick.
In Canada, and if you're one of our Canadian listeners, if you're a Canadian medical patient and you're with a company like NHS or something, Natural Health Services or something like that, you can get your medical devices paid for, like your vaporized.
That's
paid
awesome.
for through our
I actually have
through
a volcano Canada story of me getting in trouble with some marijuana.
What
Oh,
happened?
man, let's hear it.
Okay, so this is probably like, I don't know, 10 years ago, something like that, right? We go into Canada, all right? So we get rid of all of our weed before going into Canada, all right? We go in through Vancouver. And if you're a touring person, you smoke weed and you go through Vancouver, you know about the Amsterdam Cafe or whatever. It's
Yeah,
like-
yeah, yeah.
100%.
You can smoke
The new
weed up there.
Amsterdam.
Yeah, right? And above the Amsterdam Cafe, they have a volcano lounge. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
still
I've
there.
been up there.
You've been up, right? You pay
Yeah,
like $5 to get in.
and not going to sell them out. They may possibly vend herbs upstairs.
It was it was actually they're gone now. I'm fairly certain it was cannabis culture and they were all taken down.
That's too bad.
I remember that place.
It was called Project Gator.
Okay.
They wiped out like them all across Canada at once. It was a huge sting.
Dude, okay. So we come in, right? As soon as we get in there, we had a buddy of ours that worked for Slayer. and Slayer dudes are very well connected.
Yeah.
So as soon as we got in there was this like crazy biker situation. I don't know what it was. They basically went across the street from there and knocked on some door, and this dude kind of looks through the hole, whatever, is like, all right, come in, and went in there and bought like sketchy amounts of marijuana, like when it's not legal yet. This was a long time ago. So they gave us all this weed. We get our weed, and I'm going to this cafe. So I put all my weed in a jar, and I put it on our bus. I have these cubby holes that we were all keeping our stuff in. Everybody had their own cubby hole. So I kept my jar of weed in my cubby hole, put it in there, and I filled a little Ziploc bag with some weed, just enough to take to this Volcano Lounge. So we go to Volcano Lounge, and I remember one thing in
So
particular.
you got your weed over the border.
I bought the weed in Canada.
Sorry.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
Bought it in Canada. So now, we're hanging out in this Volcano Lounge. The first time I'd ever seen anybody use a giant bag. Remember, we looking over this table, and there was a girl in this group of people in particular that was taking rips off this bag that was about 3 feet tall. And we were like, we tied ours off to make it smaller and more like practical to smoke. And we saw this girl ripping this 3 foot bag, and we're like, man, we look like bitches. Like, we need to like smoke bigger amounts of marijuana, or this is embarrassing, Anyway, so fast forward through this week that we're in there, right? I'm smoking all my weed out of my jar, and it comes to the last day. We got to cross the border. You got to get rid of your weed. So I throw my jar out. We clean the whole bus out. We're freaking ready to go. Time to cross the border. So as we come in, all the cops or the border people are like, "Oh, you guys are in a band, Like, dude, what band are you guys? Oh, Atreyu, like, oh, we like your band. Blah blah. This is great, We're gonna go on the bus. We're just gonna check things out real quick. We're gonna come back. We're gonna grab some autographs, and everyone's gonna be on their way." We're like, "Sounds great." So we're sitting there waiting, and they're on there for like 10 minutes. It's like, this is kind of a long time. Like, what's taking so long? And all of a sudden, all of them at the same time, all like there's probably like 7 of these border patrol people. They all come off the bus at the same time, and they all walk in a line, and they all line up in front of us, and one holds up a bag of weed and drops that on our table. And they're like, "Whose is that?" We're like, "What? We all start looking at each other like, "Well, who's the fucking idiot? Who brought weed? We're crossing a border. Like, who did this? This is so stupid." We're all looking at each other like, honestly, we don't know. We'll confess we had weed, obviously, but like we tried to get rid of it all. We shouldn't have had this. That's not supposed to be there. Like, that's not supposed to be there. And they're like, "Well, whose is it?" And we're like, we don't know. I don't know. So they're like, "All right." They're like, "Does anybody have large amounts of cash on the bus? We need that off the bus." And I was like, "Oh, I actually have some cash on the bus." They're like, "Can you come with us? We need to get that off." I'm like, "All right, that's weird." So I go on the bus, and they're standing by the cubby holes. And I go to the cubby holes, and they're like, "Can you get your cash out?"
Oh, no.
I grab my cash out, and they're like, "Oh, that's your cubby?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "That's where we found the weed." Oh! I'm like, "Oh, no." And I was completely like, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm like, "Oh, my God, this is terrifying. I am crossing a border with marijuana right now. This is terrifying. This is not good. I'm not a bad person. Like, why is this happening to me? Like, what are they going to do, So they're like, "You got to come with us." So they take me into this back room, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is like, what are they going to do, So they take me to the back. They make me take all my clothes off, just down to my underwear. Luckily, I didn't get fingered or nothing.
Oh, boy.
I didn't get that lucky.
Hey, you can tell us if you did, man. That's cool.
I was kind of, part of me was kind of like, if we're going to go all the way,
Let's go.
You only live once. If we're going to be here, at least,
Pretty good looking guy.
at least lick your finger first or whatever, Go gentle, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, I'm really not opposed to this.
Yeah, it's
Sir,
I'll try anything twice, Dad.
Sir, we really don't need to. Yeah, but I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, I said I'm not opposed. So I ended up getting locked in this room with these officers. We got stuck in there. We couldn't get out for a little bit, right? Eventually, they're I'm making jokes. I'm like, "Oh, at least there's a toilet in here." And they're like, "It's not funny. Like, we need to get out of here." So we were in there for like 20 minutes. We couldn't get out of this room. I'm like in this jail cell with these officers. Finally, they get out. They take me around. It ended up being I had to pay a $500 fine. And they didn't tell me, but I got red flagged, which means the next 5 times that I left the country and I came back in, when they pull up my passport, they'd be like, "Sir, can you wait here just a second?" I'm like, "What does that mean?" And they'd come, they'd grab me, an officer would take me off to the side, they'd rip my whole bag apart.
Pants off.
Wow.
A whole pants off, you know what I mean? I got laid every time, and I was like, this is
I
working
think
out
I
pretty
might
good.
try and sneak some weed across the border now. I didn't know I'd get
Basically,
laid when
long
you do
story
that.
short, if you want to get laid in Canada, just bring a little bit of weed, put it in your pocket on accident, quote unquote.
Anybody,
Hey, Brent, can you make sure to back that tip up? Make sure we don't lose that
yeah,
one minute.
just that.
anybody in Canada listening from the Border Patrol, my name's John Smith, and I'm not in Death by Stereo.
What was do you remember your very first time trying weed? Did we didn't.
Yes, I do. It was.
I know you said you're 14.
I was 14. I smoked out of a can.
Yeah.
And I was like enamored by this can because it was, to me, I didn't know what a pipe looked like. I didn't know how you ingested marijuana. I didn't know anything.
Right.
So like, to me, it was like, that's how it's done, is this can. That's it.
I love that.
So like I had a box for this can. I took care of it, It was precious to me because I didn't know that you could just make another one, Amazing. But I overpaid. I paid like $10 for like what's the equivalent of like a marble sized nug of weed. My best friend who got me the weed ripped me off, and we smoked. I just remember in particular two things. One was that we smoked this weed, and my friends kept saying that if you did push-ups, you would get higher. So we're all down there getting high, doing push-ups.
Are you kidding me?
Trying to get more stoned. It was so ridiculous. And this was actually a turning point thing in my life. The first time I ever smoked weed, I was taking guitar lessons at the time. So I'm 14, and I was taking these classes called rhythm and groove classes. So it was like a band. So there'd be like several drummers, several guitar players, several singers at this music school, and you'd all take turns collectively making different bands and just jamming cover songs. First time I ever get high in my life, I'm wandering around my neighborhood. I don't know where I am. I forgot about this guitar lesson. My mom's losing her mind. She sees me. She's driving around looking for me, picks me up. She's like, Dan, your guitar lesson. You got to go. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so high. I can't do this. Takes me to my group lesson. I get there. I'm standing there staring in the corner when I first get there, and they're like, what are you looking for? I'm like, what? Oh my God, can they tell I'm high? Like, I don't know what's going on. They're like, what are you looking at? I'm like, oh, I'm looking for my cable. There's nothing in the corner. I'm just staring at a blank corner. But the thing that was a changing point for me is that it was the first time playing music stoned. And I'm sitting in this group, and like people in the other band that was collectively there was playing music, and I wasn't a part of that, but my amp was plugged in. So I just kind of started like making shit up as I was kind of like noodling over their stuff a little bit. And it like put the connection of like smoking weed and creativity with music connected for me for the first time.
Wow,
the first time
cool.
I ever smoked weed, it was like, wow, weed is going to be a big part of my life.
That's amazing. That's fucking awesome.
I have written every riff I've ever written for Atreyu stoned. And
What?
I've never, if I'm not stoned, it's just not the same. And I get stoned, and it's like it opens this door to this world where like, all right, I can work, and I go into that world, and like I just milk it for all I can until the weed wears off, and then like I have this beautiful thing that's made me money and like changed my whole life.
That's incredible.
Yeah, weed has been a very huge part of my life.
Do you do you a daily smoker? Like, are you wake up in the morning kind of guy?
First thing I do is get up and go
and
take a
make-
shit in a bong toke,
Yeah.
At the same time.
That's great.
Yeah.
For real?
I make sure. See, this is my thing. I get up in the morning, and I first get the bong ready, and then I go and I sit down on the toilet, and I have the bong and everything there. So that way, I'm like, I want to be as comfortable as possible, And then it's like, all right, now I'm ready. I got my phone, so I can like noodle around on my phone.
Look at your girlfriend Molly shaking her head like,
I know the whole time.
Fact checker.
It's true. And I'll go in there, and I sit there, and I'll be in there sometimes for an hour, and I'm not even shitting the whole time. I'm like just chilling. Like I'm just like so relaxed and just enjoying myself and like smoking weed and just fiddling around on my phone, taking a shit. Like it's just a nice way to start the day, Like I enjoy it.
Dude.
It's the one thing I wish I could bring more to touring, because touring, I smoke weed when I wake up, but I can't just bring a bong into the toilet with me. It's a little bit more, you're on other people's properties and stuff. It's,
Way different.
yeah.
Does your whole band smoke weed? Is everybody down?
Not everyone. Mostly it's our singer Alex. He's probably the biggest smoker out of all of us. He's got the volcano that's been there forever. That's actually, that volcano has been a way to help us meet and become friends with a lot of bands. Strung Out, that's how we became.
Oh, they're the best.
Very friendly with Strung
Volcano
Out.
Pros.
Volcano Bros. 2005 Warped Tour. We became, out of all the bands on Warped Tour in 2005, strangely enough, even though we were a younger band, the band we became best friends with and hung out with the most was Strung Out.
They're the best guys
because they
ever.
smoked weed with us, and we're like into the same kinds of music. And it was just weird because I grew up listening to Strung Out, and I was like, I can't believe I'm hanging out with Strung Out. This is crazy. And they want to smoke weed with us. And like, that's the band that we're hanging out with is Strung Out. Like, this is weird. What is my life? Thank you, weed.
That's great.
I love weed.
I love that so much.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So how much time do you spend at your other business? Like, are you there every day? Is that your day to day?
Not as much as I used to. So like my whole vision is like, I wanted to build money machines. I want to build things that make me money and they function, and I don't have to like be there all the time. Like there's enough competent people collectively working together, enjoying themselves, having a good time. Everyone's winning. And at the end of the day, they're making me some money. So like, right now with like our merchandising company, we've built it up to a point where for years it was my brother and I grinding. I mean, we had to do everything. We had to wear all the hats. We were driving around. I mean, like we were maniacs. Like we just wanted to make this work. And we finally built it up to a point where we were able to take on people to kind of start wearing those individual hats. And it's gotten to a point now where we have enough people where it essentially runs itself. And I mean, it makes my life so much easier. And at the same time, it's like I can do even bigger things because of it, because I have more time to put into
Focus on
reeling in
on
that big client or
big picture decisions.
Exactly. Like my band has been the catalyst of everything. So like the more time I have to spend just hanging out and being in my band and like touring and just making my band a bigger, more relevant, awesome, successful thing, all the opportunities are going to pop up around me, you know? So it's right now, like luckily I've been able to tour consistently and not have to be at home. And my brother and I run everything together. He kind of holds down the fort. I'm more of the creative mind. He's more of the black and white, more kind of left brain logistics guy. Yeah. Exactly.
You're about to do some heavy touring again. You're going out with a buddy of ours, Brown Sound.
Oh yeah,
yeah, Sum 41, right?
Sum 41, yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're doing it's Disrupt Festival this summer.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, which is awesome. I mean, it's
A
something
lot of
that
great bands, right?
yeah, you got Thrice, you got the Used, Circus Survive, Sleeping with Sirens, Atreyu, Memphis Mayfire, like. It's awesome, and we've grown up with all these bands. We've toured
a lot
all
of those
these
bands are like it's crazy because you're like I don't know how much. How old are you?
I'm 36.
36. So I'm 40, but like I grew up in the same stuff, and so Atreyu does still seem like kind of a younger band to me. Like it's not, but it does
Yeah.
still does.
Our
like,
bands
like,
are the same age.
Like, yeah, I know.
I'm
but
a year older
like
than
Circus
you.
Survive and the stuff when you guys came around, it seemed like the next gen sort of
Right,
stuff. And so,
right.
but it's crazy that stuff now is, you know, like 10, 20 years later, it's retro stuff. So all these bands get to tour again together, like the way some of the bands that we grew up when they were packaged together, you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, this is sick. They're all there at once.
It's cool.
It's cool. So it's just fucking awesome that all these bands, like I'm really more so comparing it to Sum 41 because I was never really big into them when they existed, but we've all become friends later, you know, kind of hanging around Toronto or whatever. And it's just so cool to see that they have this fucking like resurgence of all these people that are like, oh yeah, these people, like they're fans that were really young at one point are now 30 plus and have kids and they're all getting together and they can all go see these bands. Like you can go to that and see like all your favorite shit at once, but it's
And they
all
can
that
afford
shit
a
from
beer and a t-shirt.
Yeah, afford a beer
Yeah.
and a t-shirt, but it's all that stuff from the same era.
And their
It's not
kids
like,
are there, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you see like like some of the bigger fests, and it's like I don't know. It's just cool that it's kind of genre specific in a way. So if somebody really loved that, they can really go back and visit that experience. I think it's the
cool
long short of it.
when fans, you know, there's like periods of time where your fans change over the years.
Yeah.
You know, you lose them, they go to college, they experiment, they get into country, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's
line
that's
dancing,
it.
whatever.
I listened to country once in college, man.
Yeah, man, it was so wild, dude. Have you ever seen the blues? I've seen the blues. I heard someone say that for real. Someone's dad
seen
once.
the blues.
You know, one time, guys, I went out and saw the blues. So
Saw
I was
it.
like, whoa.
yeah.
But it's cool because now the fans are older, out of college, and like they really can support your band the way
Yeah.
they want to and the way they couldn't when they were younger. And I've noticed that with older fans, they really appreciate the bands and they really want to support you. And
Oh, those spend
Yeah.
their money like because they don't get out because they're
not standing there.
Very realistically, they are 30 plus now or late 20s. They have kids, they have families, they have all
Yeah.
that fucking shit. They don't get to go out, and now when they go out, they're like, yes, thank God I'm going to see Atreyu. It's been fucking 7-8 years or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck it's been. You know, it's awesome. It's
and
nice.
you have a whole new generation getting into your band, which is cool.
It's so wild. It's wild to be a band long enough to see the changes and see all these wild things. We literally have things now where people name their kids after our band.
That's so rad.
It is the wildest thing. Like almost every other, like we'll do these VIP meet and greets, which is a pretty standard thing bands do now to generate a little extra money. You get to meet the fans and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a cool, intimate
We do
experience.
them all
Get your photo.
when I was promoting, we did them all the time.
It's totally a thing now, you know? And like, we'll have fans, I mean, probably every other one, I'd say on average. Somebody comes through and they're like, hey, this is little Atreyu, you know? Or like,
Wow.
oh, you know, in my belly right here, this is, you know, Atreyu. You know, this is going to be Atreyu. Can you sign my shirt or whatever? And we're like, what the hell? We had somebody
Were
actually.
they like,
who-
will you sign my baby?
You did. You did.
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh my God.
We've had people
This is
come
like-
through that was like, one time
It's like Talladega Nights.
these people named their kid Atreyu, and the girl was pregnant, so they already had one named Atreyu. They're like, we're so happy with this name Atreyu with this kid. Do you mind naming our next kid?
Wait, what?
In the line. So we're kind of all sitting there brainstorming real quick. I came up with Rocky, and I think they're going to go with that one.
Really?
We started joking around with like, what about Dan or Brandon or Alex or people in our bands?
Yeah.
And then I jokingly, because I threw this out because I thought this was kind of funny. There's like, so I remember there was this guy, my dad, he used to work for this like, it was like a Chinese company of some sort, like 20 years ago, whatever. And there was this guy that worked there and he was from China and he came over here and he wanted an American name. And it was funny, it was like whoever gave him like, because he didn't know what American name to get. He doesn't know what's,
Right.
like if you wanted to go get a Chinese name, like I don't know what Chinese
Yeah.
names there are. I have no idea. So somebody gave him the name Rocky. That was the guy. That was like
he had no idea.
He doesn't know that's kind of a silly name to give somebody, you know. So this
Yeah.
Chinese dude's, you know, my name is Rocky.
I mean, but shout out to all the Rockies out there,
all the
man.
Rockies. It's a great name. But I always thought that was so quirky, you know. So I was like, name him Rocky. You know what I mean? Why not? And they were like, oh, Rocky. Maybe that's not so bad. I'm like, maybe it's not so bad. Yeah, go with Rocky.
That's
So
amazing.
There might be a family out there where the kids' names are Atreyu and Rocky.
That's
cool.
sounds like a reality show.
Atreyu came from Never Ending Story, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Swoop.
Should yeah, you like
I'm a fan
what's
of-
it called? The nothing. You should be like, call your kid the nothing.
Yeah, because that's what he's gonna be.
Yeah. Just get real dark on him. You know what, dude?
The nothing. Well, his name starts off as Atreyu, and as the years go by, he turns into the nothing. You know, he's worthless.
I'm a fan of Neverending Story 2, where Jack Black was the bad guy.
Was he really? I never
he was
got
the,
that.
Neverending
he
Story
was the
2?
villain in part 2. Yeah,
No.
he had like a leather jacket, and he was like the bad guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he was like a bully.
There is a few of them. There's like I think they go up to like 4. Like they
Oh,
start.
really? It was like Neverending.
Like, yeah, I think they
It
started.
is
12.
never-ending, so I
this
mean-
time he means business.
Yeah. Don't get me
back.
started. Don't get me
With a
started on my Air
vengeance.
Bud
Back
reboot,
again.
brother.
Oh yeah, we would.
Still hasn't found the end.
He's
We'll
been
talk
working
about-
on the Air Bud reboot for a while.
We'll talk about it after, dude. You got to get in. You'll love it.
Oh yeah, Air Buds is.
Go back to the
special.
Kendall Legaspi interview if anybody wants to hear the Air Bud shit. We don't need
Oh
to
yeah,
repeat
yeah.
that
We have
stuff.
another episode where we get way into Air Bud.
Way into Air Bud.
Yeah,
It's a good fucking time if you're
Get
stoned,
into it,
dude.
man. Get into it.
Airbuds. Is it like the air fryers, but for buds?
No,
Remember
Air Bud, like the golden
movie?
retriever.
The golden
that
retriever
plays
that
basketball.
Air Bud.
Air Bud.
Yeah, and then they got like a Air Bud golden receiver for the football one.
Golden-
And they
yeah.
got 7th inning fetch.
What was the quote?
Golden
What's that?
receiver.
Somebody stop that dog. Was the
Oh,
quote?
just do yourself a favor. Next time you're blasted and smoking a bong, and this is for all of our listeners, is go to YouTube and watch the Air Bud trailer from the first fucking movie, and then text me and tell me thank you.
I thought the golden receiver would have been a great name for like a gay porn or something like that.
golden
Like,
receiver.
golden receiver, you know?
Yeah,
and
it
just
definitely would be.
The golden
all
receiver.
doggy style, all the time.
All
Like,
doggy
Great
styles go to
idea,
heaven.
actually.
It would be, but yeah,
If they like it rough, you know what I mean? The whole thing.
yeah. I really wish you wouldn't corrupt my version, my vision of Air Bud like that. Not that there's anything wrong with golden receiving.
I saw a meme
as a gay
that said
person,
Air
but-
Blood, and he was all gangster.
Oh my God, you did not.
And he's holding up blood fingers. It's all Air Blood.
All right, let's. We're getting a bit detracted.
Sorry,
here.
tangent.
So let's can we talk about your stand up a bit? What happened there?
Oh, man. So I dabbled in it. I went up 10 times. I was like, I want to try this. I've never done this before.
Did you do it stoned?
Never stoned, to be honest. Always a little bit intoxicated. See, for me, being stoned and performing don't mix.
Oh.
I smoke weed all the time except for when I have to perform. Because I feel if I get stoned, I get like kind of quiet sometimes and like, and I start
too
getting in my head.
introspective. Yeah.
I get introverted, you know? Because I'm totally introvert, extrovert. Like, extrovert. I'm a very outgoing person, but I'm also like, a lot of times I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, oh God,
I know
like,
how
oh,
you
look
feel.
at me. You know, it's just kind of, you get in your head about it or whatever. But I went up 10 times. There was this place called the Anchor Bar here. It's in Costa Mesa. If you've ever want to go look at just a gazillion local comedians, whatever, they'll have like 70 a night. And it's from like 6 to midnight. And there's like $5 pizzas. It's on Monday nights. You get $5 pizzas, cheap drinks. There's just tons of comedians. They'll go on from anywhere from like 2 minutes to 5 minutes at a time. Quick little things. This dude Evan Cassidy over there, he's a super nice dude. He's like the guy for like if you're like a lower level, like you're coming into comedy locally, this dude is the guy. You know, he does stuff at Chapter One. He's got stuff at the Brea Improv. It's awesome. But I started going in. I just figured I'll try it. You know, like I've been known to be kind of a comedic dude. You know, I make a lot of my friends laugh and stuff over the years. So I'm like, maybe I'll try stand-up comedy. You know what I mean? I have some pretty ridiculous stories and whatnot. So I just went up 10 different times at 3 different locations and just tried like different, you know, bits and different like where I'm like telling a story or just trying to like tell jokes, you know, and like tried all this different stuff. And it is not like being in a band. It is a whole nother thing, man. It is terrifying. Like you go up there, you are so naked, you know, like I feel like in my band, I can hide behind alcohol and the rest of my band being so loud that nobody really knows what I'm doing, even though they can hear what I'm doing. But like, I feel like I can't. So it makes me confident, you know?
Yeah. There's a padding of some sort.
There's padding, you know? When you do stand-up comedy, you are just butt naked up there. You walk up there like, and everyone, it's this guy. Dan Jacobs is coming up here right now, and he's going to make you laugh. You ready? And it's like, oh my gosh. Like
That's a
all
lot of pressure,
It's
dude.
a lot of pressure. Like, he's going to be funny. You don't know him. You have nothing to like base off of what kind of personality this person is, anything. Like, whereas like for me, as you find out is like a lot of the things that makes me funny is my friends know me. They know the things I'm into or my type of humor, which makes it a little easier to make somebody laugh. When you have to make somebody laugh that doesn't know you, they have no background on you or
I
anything.
haven't
You're
listened
just
to your
some-
song a million times.
Yeah,
you know?
there's a lot of like one of the things about comedy in stand-up comedy is that there's a lot of famous people that can do it that don't have to be the funniest people. They have that celebrity status that makes you attractive. So people will come out and even laugh a little bit more than normal just because you're famous.
And they're excited to see you.
They're excited to see you, you know,
Right.
be in your presence. They're kind of more hypersensitive to like laugh at anything you say because they're like, oh, I don't want them to see me not laughing. You know what I mean? This is a celebrity, you know, Whereas if you're just some Joe Schmo guy and you're going up at doing an open mic thing, people will just kind of stand there and be crickets and be like, and they'll just have conversations in the middle of your bit. You'll see somebody like talking to their friend or something. You're like, I'm trying to be funny up here. Trying to be funny. Yeah, do you mind talking about that later? It's like so awkward. It's the most awkward thing. Terrible place to go on a date, actually. Don't ever go on a date to stand-up comedy.
You can't talk.
It's not a good place. That's one thing I thought as I was doing stand-up comedy, and I'd be like watching people that are on dates and stuff like that. I'm like, this is a terrible place to go on dates. You can't talk to anybody. You just go. It's like going to a movie. You just go there and you have to be quiet the whole time.
But anybody listening that's considering going to see Dan Dude stand up, bring your date, fill up the room.
Yeah, fill up the room.
Tip your bartender.
Laugh.
Don't
whether
not
I'm
bring your
funny or
dates
not.
to see Dan.
Just laugh, and give me money.
How did it go when you went? Did you feel okay about it? Did you?
You know what? Like I said, I did it 10 times. Every time I went up, I got people to laugh a little bit. I had some times where there were some cricket moments where I was like, oh my God, I literally just wanted to run home and just crawl on a ball and be like, oh my God, like I'm never doing that again. Why did I do that? It was so embarrassing. Wow, I never thought I could be this embarrassed. I've never I've played stadiums in front of 50,000 people with Iron Maiden. You know what I mean? You can't freaking scare me on stage. You know what I mean? And I went up there and I was terrified and I was like, oh man, I don't like being up here. I'm sweating and stuff. Whew. But it's cool. It's a cool experience. It's interesting. It's very empowering to try to make people laugh and have everybody watching you and just you. Not. No music, no nothing. It's just silence and you on a microphone and everybody watching you, and it's really interesting. It's a drug in itself though. I can see how it can be addicting.
It's so different from music because I feel like with music and being in a band, I don't play guitar or anything, but I have all these things to hide behind.
Yeah.
To an extent. I hide behind the wall of guitars. I hide behind the sound. I hide behind the fact that when I get on the mic, I'm not going, hey, how's it going? I'm going, and trying to drown out the room and trying to make people more uncomfortable than I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
New Death by Stereo sounds pretty interesting. Can I hear that again?
That was actually a little taste of our first single. Off the
Yeah, exactly. This is the newest single. It's called and it's coming out on Records. So, but that being said, I feel like I have all these things to hide behind, and I would feel totally naked doing what you do. And I could see it being so nerve wracking.
It's terrifying, and for me too, I'm a guitar player, so I talk a little bit on the mic here and there, in between song banter. It'll usually between myself, our drummer Brandon / singer, and our singer Alex. They do most of the on-stage banter. I chime in here and there. But thinking about it, as confident as I am, I don't usually talk on the mic. I'm confident in having my guitar in front of me and my ability on guitar, and that I know I can work the stage with my guitar and with my band behind me. I know how to do that. You remove all those elements and you switch it up, and it's yes, I'm still performing. Yes, I'm still on stage, but now I have a microphone instead of a guitar, and there's nobody to back you up. I have to come up with material. I don't have any songs. I have to write the quote unquote songs, and which is funny is I would rehearse these things. One of my bits even I would even talk about I did this whole bit on joking around about eating poop. It's a weird thing. It somehow came in, but but the thing that was funny about the bit the next time that I came back is that I talked about how I had to rehearse this eating poop bit. I'd be sometimes butt naked in my house, pacing around my house, rehearsing jokingly eating poop to go in front of people and do this. What? And ironically, the only shit that I was eating was nobody was laughing.
God.
So I was like, that's the irony here. It's I practiced eating shit and I really did, but not in the way I thought I was going to.
That's fucking great. I like the way your brain works, my friend.
That's why the next bit I went up there and I tried to explain this to everyone. I'm like, do you guys see the irony here? I rehearsed eating shit for all of you, and I really did eat shit, but not in the way I thought I was going to.
That's fucking crazy.
It was it's you're so exposed. I went up there and it was basically you know what, guys, my penis isn't that big. Do you mind if I show you real quick? Here it is. Look how small that is. Isn't that awful? Oh, well. Great. Anyways, I'm Dan Jacobs. You guys have a good night. It's that's what it feels like when you go up there. It's wow. Man, here we go.
I just think it's cool that you're
I'm glad you
brave
did it,
enough
man.
to be creative.
Cool.
It's cool, man. It was
and to challenge
really
yourself.
Interesting. It was really interesting. The people you meet, it was a whole the stand-up comedy world is such a different, musicians. Yeah, I mean, Efrem, you guys both know. You meet musicians, it's a different breed of person on all level, and then depending on what level of success they are, it's a different type of personality. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the comedy world. I was meeting some of the strangest people. I mean, really different. And for me, I liked it because they didn't know who I was. They didn't know anything about my band. I was just some guy doing what they were doing. And I liked that. I was like a new person, you know, and I think that was what was stimulating. It was like I got to start fresh. And like, if I'm a rock star here, it's because I'm a rock star, not because my band or anything.
Exactly.
It's 'cause I did it, you know?
You're
And I
not
think that's-
trying to stand on the strength of your previous successes with the band.
Exactly,
You're trying
you
to
know?
independently do it yourself. That's great.
And I even had the moment where like, I feel honestly I learned a little bit, but I feel like I feel like I'm a very inspiring person. The way I talk and stuff like that, I have a lot of crazy things that happen in my life that have been very successful where I can inspire people in certain ways. And I found myself, the more I was going to this thing, I found a lot of the time I was spending there was standing out front, like inspiring the other stand-up comedians that were trying to come in there that had never performed before, that were like super nervous. And I could tell how nervous they'd be pacing around and kind of like, oh man, I don't know what to do. Like, have you done this before, man? Like, what do you do? This is my first time, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, I got you, buddy, man. You're gonna be fine. Like, what do you got, man? Like, I would just end up just talking to these kids a lot of times. A lot of times they'd be like in their late teens, early 20s and stuff like that, and they're just kind of doing this for the first time. And even though I didn't have much experience, I had performance experience, you know? Right. So I was like, you know, if there's anything I can bring to this comedy world, it's hopefully inspiring some comedians to...
Just picture me naked.
Yeah, picture me naked right now. We don't even have to do the comedy thing. We can go back to my car.
Back to my
You
pad.
and me, bro. Like, let's just do this.
We'll ride to
what I
my
mean?
house naked in the car.
You want to see something funny? Wait till I get my pants off. Now that's comedy.
Where do we find you online?
You can go to AtreyuOfficial.com if you want Atreyu stuff. I have RockWorldMerch.com if you're looking for merchandise. If you want any sort of branded anything made. You have thejackrack.com is where our plug-in stuff is. If you want a cool keychain holder. You can also get it through Marshall. If you go through Marshall, they sell them as well. Cool. But yeah, that's pretty much all the goodies.
And you're at in Atreyu's just anywhere. Just Atreyu.
Spotify,
just Google
Instagram.
fucking Atreyu.
Type it in Instagram.
You're gonna
it
find a
pops
couple
right
things.
up.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing. Thanks for being inspiring. Thanks for being hilarious. Thanks for being entertaining. And good luck. All the best to you in the future, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
Appreciate
telling us
it,
how you
guys.
got in the weeds, Dan.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thanks
man.
guys.
This episode was presented by Pot Guide and WikiLeaf. Please follow ITW on Twitter and Instagram at GetIntoTheWeeds. You can follow Ben Rispin at Ben Rispin. You can follow Efrem Martinez Schulz at FByStereo. And me, Bubba Nicholson at Bubba Nicholson. ITW's theme music was written by Jacob Bergsma of My Son the Hurricane. Visit them at www.msthofficial.com. Special thanks to our friends at Puff Digital, Program Skate and Sound, and the Slide Bar in Fullerton, Orange County. Sound engineering provided by Roman Marconi at Halo Studios Hamilton. ITW was created by Ben Rispin and is produced by Master Volume.